and you want to come to Rama Festival, which is going to be, I have to say, epic. We're about to make some announcements of some of the things that are going to be happening, and it is next level. So we're very excited about that, which is over Solstice and the eclipse on Mallorca. And as some of us know here, I just keep on getting emails and comments. We're moving to Mallorca, and I was like, okay, here we go. Everyone's moving to Mallorca. Joanna's like, Elizabeth, who runs the studio there, is like, if I hear one more person is moving to Mallorca, it used to be she was like, I'm all alone here, no one lives here, and I'm by myself. And now she's like, if I hear one more person's moving to Mallorca, she's getting all like grumpy about it. But so it's over the eclipse, it's over the solstice, and they're simultaneous. Basically, the solstice happens Saturday night in Spain time, Central European time, on the 20th of June at about like 11 o'clock at night. And then the eclipse happens, the first of the summer kind of big bangers happen early, somewhat early on Sunday morning. So we're going to get some real back-to-back action, as well as we're very excited to announce Rama Records 2020 to be released and performed at Rama Festival on the night of the 19th of June 2020. So we'll be releasing a bunch of new music from our global community, almost every continent represented, and this music is just unbelievable and really amazing. So we're very excited, and if you're in that scene and you want to send something to us for us to hear, please do, and you can just send it directly to julian@rama-tv.com. No, send it to me. Guru Jagat at gurujagat.com. But no, I keep on saying we're looking for some DJs to remix these mantras. We really need it to happen, and I don't know why it hasn't happened, but it sounds like I'm starting to get some really great tracks. So if you're out there and you're a DJ, we need you, because Yogi Bhajan was so happy. In 1984, I believe it was, first of all, Yogi Bhajan went to Mallorca one time, and he also spent a lot of time at the Black Madonna site outside of Barcelona, Montserrat. More about that later. But there was a track that he kind of helped. He did a lot of the rhythm and melody of some of the older tracks. So whether you like them or not, they have a very specific teaching inside of them. And one of them is this Sade Sasa. And that there came word that like in the mid 80s, I think it was 1984, some DJ on Ibiza had remixed that Sade Sasa, and he was very happy to hear, because it's syllabic. If you're wasted and you're on the dance floor in Ibiza, what do you care? It's like, sorry, it's either Cher or Sade Sasa. Who cares? Sounds good to me. And so he was very happy to hear that. So and one of my favorite artists, Robin, who's a Swedish artist, she got big on the dance floor. It was like she was putting out okay pop music, but then the DJs started remixing, and some big DJs started remixing her music, and that's where she became, a multi-platinum artist. So that's what we need. We need some amazing remixes. So I'm putting that out there. Okay, let's do the intelligence meditation. I'm getting all sorts of emails about things that are happening for people. It's pretty amazing. And that's the 5-minute version of the diction meditation, which is worth doing if you have a little extra time on your hands. And since all we've got is time this morning. So I was telling the team that we're doing this relationship immersion this weekend, and I went to the sales page, and I said to the team, if you really didn't want any male identifying people to come to this event, you did a great job, because that sales page is scary. It was like crying women and like hugging and like all this kind of like a lot of weird stuff going on. And I thought to myself, well, that's why no male identifying people have signed up for this course. It's scary. So I just wanted to make it known that you are invited, this stuff is important. And the Yogi Bhajan gave just the most amazing teachings around these relay. He called them relay. Well, I'm calling them relay arts because it's an art. But there's also science. It's an art, but it's an artful science, and a thing that nobody's taught how to do anything in this arena. We have a major kind of handicap because actually the human being is meant and built for very successful and long-lasting relationships. We have the capacity, we just have not exercised the capacity very often, nor have we been taught. And so it's an important part of what we do here, because everything we do at Rama Institute is about covering all faculties of the householder's life. And this is one of the most important. We haven't done it for a couple of years, we were a little grumpy about it and stuff. And then I got married and I thought, okay, all right, fine. I think it's time. So we're gonna be doing some things, and there's some big surprises this weekend. There's some really interesting pieces of content and conversations and things that we're going to be bringing to the table. So we'll be up at Temescal Canyon with a bunch of crying women. We'll be up there because it's a lot of people, and we wanted to, when we're dealing with this stuff, everybody needs a little personal space, they're processing. So we wanted to plus it's just beautiful up in that room. I don't know if any of you have been up there with us before, but it's in the middle of the woods in Temescal Canyon. And it's actually quite healing to go up there and do some, because this is a touchy subject. And we are, whether you think you want one or whether you have one and you don't know what to do with it, which is very common. I mean, you get the thing and then you really, that's when we really mess it up. But wherever you are kind of in that scenario, we want to work with both the technology, but this is part of our mission, is it has to be applied. So even if you just took one thing from what we will be kind of working with this weekend, if you apply that, because I was thinking about this, Yogi Bhajan says all relay is three. It's a thruple. For those of you who are into that kind of thing, guess what? You no longer need to look for a third in another human. It is a thruple, your relationships. And so, which is, it's you, it's the other person, and then the third entity, which is the ship of the relay. Okay? So it's a container, it's a ship, and the ship has to be... It has to be womaned and manned. It has to be captained. And then we get to the giver-taker teachings, which I am not talking about this morning because we won't do any yoga. I said one thing about, I actually gave a really good talk about it on Mallorca, which there was a reason we decide to put it out. I don't know, I probably offended too many people and cussed too much, but maybe we can bleep it out and try to put it out, because it was actually quite a good talk on just pop culture and this giver-taker thing. But the ship of the relay, whoever is the ultimate kind of giver in the relationship, which if you don't know, then you don't know. And if you want to know, then just come to the weekend, because I'm not talking about it. It needs to be in charge of the direction of the ship. Now, the other person in the relationship who is the taker can fuel that direction, who can take to give and give to take, but the giver has to be, directing where the ship is going, else the ship is going to get shipwrecked. And we have a major problem with that because a lot of people, well, first of all, people don't understand the teaching, and it's complex. So it will be something that I'm talking about ad nauseum this weekend because it's very important. But I'll just give you one piece that I've given before, because I thought it just came out of Hari Jivan's mouth, and I thought that's a brilliant way of describing it, which is that if you're in a relationship, or your relationship you aren't in anymore, the person you are not the giver in the relationship if you feel like you just, I give so much and I have nothing left to give. Then you're not the giver, you're the taker. Let's just be that's as simple as we can get about this. It never changes.
It's always that the giver's the giver and the taker's the taker. And if the giver is directing the ship of the relay correctly, then the taker and the taker is doing their job correctly, then there'll be fuel and energy and love and sex and movement, and everybody's life will get better, and you will just keep on growing and enhancing, and for, as long as you want to. That's a long-term relationship. It's actually that simple, but boy. Well, first of all, we like to crash the ship. So that's why we're doing 5 minutes of the addiction meditation, because a lot of us, we have the kind of the maternal programming. The mother had the self-destructive programming. It's not, we think it's the father issues. That's a whole nother set of issues we'll talk about this weekend. But the mother issues, if the mother had a self-destructive streak, then she was wreaking havoc in the home in one way or another. She was creating that because the mother holds the home. So she was creating, whether she's a professional mother or whether she's a stay-at-home mother, it doesn't matter. It's an aura thing, right? So if your mother had a self-destructive streak, oftentimes you get a thrill destroying your home. Which is like, you wonder why dogs shit where they sleep. You're like, oh, something's wrong with that dog if it's shitting where it's sleeping. Well, that's you. That's you. That's the self-destructive streak. It's like, why go ruin somebody else's home? Like, why are you ruining your home? But that's the self-destructive streak. So one of the major issues with this relay and the ship is that, especially if the giver, who is the one who's directing where the thing goes, if the giver has the maternal self-destructive patterns, you're going to get shipwrecked, and they're not dealing with it. You're going to get shipwrecked. The taker actually, can have that, and it's going to cause other problems. But so, we were given a science and an art on how to create positive and powerful. And when you know that it's working, everybody is getting better, happier, more radiant. And the thing about the long-term relationship is that it just becomes this incredible experience of continuing to discover someone. So, in the millennial generation and kind of, I'm like elder millennial, Gen Y kind of borderline. What happened was like, all right, okay, we see the parents, they're fucked up, they're not happy, what are we gonna do? Let's just, let's be non-monogamous, let's be poly like they were in the 60s, or I don't know what the kind of thought form on this is. So now we're gonna introduce, we can't figure it out with one person, so you know what, I have a really good idea. Let's introduce more people into the equation. Does that make sense, doesn't it? That's just a great idea. No, but that's basically, so then we have, you see now, because this is coming out a lot in the news and stuff, there's a lot of interviews and talk with like thruples and, how they deal. It's a full-time job. It's a full-time job to deal with one person in yourself. But the people who because I've been around this stuff for my whole life, the new age, everybody's trying to pull this. It's a different iteration in every generation, which is like, okay, now let's see if we get, we'll rename it, we'll rebrand it. It's not poly now, it's thruple, whatever the thing is. Everybody's trying to figure out a way to make the thing work. So maybe we bring another person in, then we won't be so, colluded with each other and, having to deal with each other. We'll deal with this other person, but what happens to that? It's a rare situation where that works, but it's not a logical situation, because you can't deal with one person, so you decide you're going to bring another person into the equation. Now, the people I know who do that, and maybe do it somewhat successfully for a period of time, that's what they do for their career. They're polyamorous as a career. I'm not kidding. The amount of processing that takes, because always one person feels left out all the time. It's, and some of you know what I'm talking about. It's a lot of, so, that's a career choice. That's not a relationship choice. That's like, I want to get my doctorate and I'm just going to spend all my time processing about relationships that's a career choice. But so the relay and the ship, right? And there's all sorts of, it's a crane age. So we have all sorts of different versions of what this looks like, but I can just give you this one fundamental thing that I want you to think about. The relay ship is a vibration. Therefore, the vibration between the two people or more, where two or more are gathered, the vibration between those people, that's actually the nucleus of the relationship, is the vibration between them. So this is a nonverbal vibration. In our scene, it can become an actual practice where you're creating a vibratory frequency between each other, and that's actually the foundation. But think about the vibrational frequency you subconsciously create between you and the people in your life. I mean, think about the vibration that goes between, especially people who have been with each other, or, it usually is not a very high vibration. And even if you haven't, I mean, sometimes everything's becoming so subtle. Sometimes I'll hear the sound of someone who singles voice. That is not a magnetic frequency to bring someone into your life. There's a very specific frequency. I mean, these are what do animals do? It's frequency, the mating game. These are frequencies. This isn't because you look a certain way or because you, and for women who are kind of modern, very successful women, I'll have a lot of these women who are like, I don't understand, I was talking about all the things that I'm successful at. And I don't get called back. I don't get my call back. I don't get a second date. I get ghosted. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. What they care about is the vibration that you're basically projecting into the moment, which is either attractive or repulsive. And there's not, and then if it's right in the middle, which we get a lot of this too, and I'll be talking about this, the kind of new age neutral, like, I don't need you, I'm fine, I did my meditation I did intelligence meditation this morning, I am not needy, but I can be here with you, I can be present with you. It's like, that's not attractive. Who wants that? I mean, we want like fire and brimstone and hotness and needing and, and love and, I mean, that's what you want, right? It's like, I am here very neutral, very meditative on this date. It's like, that is not hot. Right? Am I right about that? And a lot of women, that once they start meditating, they think that's what they should bring to the occurrence. Again, it gets same sex, different gender. It doesn't matter. That's not an attractive. There's no kind of. I'll use the word because I love this word. There's no invagination. There's not an invitation for invagination. There's not a receptivity. Right? It's like, I have like I downloaded this. One of the girls told me to download this app called Productive. It's like, I have my Productive app, and it's like, I have done all my meditations, and I make 6 figures, and I look good, and there's no place so that's part of, and I think a lot of modern women are so surprised that that's not attractive. And even this kind of idea of neutral-mindedness in terms of, yes, ultimately having spiritual maturity is going to help you long-term in a relationship. You have to have it. You have to have the ability to go to the neutral mind. But if you really want a fun, powerful, sexy, vibrant relationship, there has to be polarity. And so one person, Yogi Bhajan said, if you want to have a successful relationship, only one person can be freaking out, falling apart, and storming at once. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be. It means that you can't both do it at once. You have to take turns. I think that's good. So that's something to think about. But so if you want, and so we'll be going, we're going to be talking about this kind of stuff because it's important. And I think that a lot of times I was just talking to a very successful woman who's very attractive, who has everything going for her. She keeps on getting ghosted. And it's because she's not showing any of the Shakti. There's no Shakti moving in her. So what does Shakti look like? Well, it's messy. And it's like, well, I like you and I don't like you. And it's, I'm needy and get away. And it's all these things because it's a storm of the creative energy. And where the meditation practice comes is we're not totally psychotic. So we're not totally identified with the storm, but we're strong enough to let the storm move through us, and we're strong enough to show it. So that's the we'll call it the femme polarity, which either partner can play. But one partner has to play it if you want to have a hot date. If both partners, so that's, and if you don't want to have a hot date and you just want to like talk about, your careers, then that's fine, but that's the kind of, you're probably not going to, both of you are probably not going to want to call each other again. Exactly. But both people, both people are not going to want that. So what is relationship? It's a law of polarity. All of these things are laws of polarity. Right? And so we'll be talking. So I'm very excited about this weekend. So you can join us. You can drop in. I'm going to have some of my really dear friends who are doing beautiful things in the relationship zone, sex, relationship, and all that kind of stuff coming to do some teaching and some Q&A. We were trying to get Dr. Pat Allen with us this weekend, and I was so excited, but she just, because of her both schedule and her age, we don't know if we're going to be able to do it for the weekend, but I am going to interview her maybe after the weekend. But she's a great mind in this arena and has a lot to, obviously, some of you know, to say. Okay, so we'll be working on this. Thanks so much for listening to another lecture on reality riffing. These are conversations and topics that I think are very important to discuss. If you enjoyed, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and share with your friends and your family. If you also want to continue to listen, bigger lectures and classes and other experiences are available on gurujagat.com.